say World Tagaluka.
World Tagaluka.
World Tagaluka.
World Tagaluka.
Thank you, Will. Ilani, the Springbok, Jersey girl.
Yeah.
Incredible last Friday.
Mate, what a story.
Ollie gets hold of me and says through the Instagram account, someone, being Ilani, has contacted him and said, I saw this thing on a jersey, a rugby jersey selling site, and looks like it's your dad's jersey from the Keo Zels show.
A cardigan.
A Springbok jersey. And you know how she knew? Because my name was embroidered on the back.
That was a big tip-off.
Big tip off. So a huge shout out to her.
Amazing.
Ollie bought the jersey. It was on auction, and then got hold of the bloke and said, just out of interest, my dad wants to know where you actually acquired the jersey because 5 of them left his garage without his consent about 4 years ago. So he had bought it at a thrift shop in Mowbray. Zels and I will be visiting them later this afternoon. And a very special jersey because when I was with the Springboks, there were 22 players in a matchday squad. We had about 12 management, and then you had jerseys 23, 24, 25. And the management would get a jersey. 3 of the management would get a jersey on match day. It's exactly the same jersey. You're part of the squad. And so every 4th test or 5th test, you'd get a jersey. And then I kept 5 very special ones from my 3 years with the Boks. And this 23 is one of the most special ones. And it's still when it was that year where Castle Lager, ironically, were the sponsors, Nike were the sponsors. And 25 years later, they're the sponsors again. It was the first time we had embroidered Springboks under the SA Rugby emblem and embroidered names, and everything's embroidered. The number, the names, the flag. And it finally arrived back.
Beautiful
Thanks, Will.
Story, mate.
Really appreciate it. He's hasn't charged me for what was paid for it. We're just paying him back what he paid for it. But what an incredible way to start the weekend, which was a precursor to Paike's 4th birthday. Thanks to everyone.
Congrats, matey.
For all the good messages. And sets us up beautifully for our weekend special, Zels. It's the Castle Rugby Championship. It's about to come, and the Boks have never won back-to-back Rugby Championships. Ooh. They had never won back-to-back Rugby World Cups either. This team had never done a lot of things, but they continue to do things.
Yep.
The 16th of August, for me, it just can't come quickly. Yeah, I've missed these Oaks.
Yeah, no, it feels like they've been gone for a long time, even though it's only been a couple of weeks. But yeah, very, very much looking forward to the Rugby Championship. The way that the Lions series ended certainly adds a bit of spice to it. Australia have got their tails up now and they're back, baby. So I think those 2 tests in South Africa are going to be great appetizers for what everybody's looking forward to when the Boks go to New Zealand and take them on at Eden Park.
Yeah, and you know, the beautiful thing about being Australian, especially being a Wallaby supporter, a player, a coach, a wannabe Wallaby, is it's not about the 9 you lose, baby. It's about the 1 you win. Now, the Springboks and the All Blacks would be in crisis. If we lost 9 and 1-1, we were ranked 8th in the world. But they're back, baby.
They're all back.
They just need a dead rubber to
Everybody's
back.
up.
So it's going to add a lot of spice. It ties in also with Castle Lager, how we are made, the campaign that they're launching. And I did a piece on Keo on International Friendship Day because I love their campaign. I think Mike Sharman at Retroviral, obviously always involved when it comes to these campaigns. And it's the buddy system. I didn't pick you as a buddy, mate.
What?
Because you're a late arrival.
Believe
so. I looked at the Springboks that I've covered since 1992 in terms of my writing, reporting, analysis, and friendships. Percy Montgomery, Bakis Boerder. Those are the 2 I mentioned. Love those guys. World Cup winners, the best in their positions when they played, and chat to them regularly. The enforcer and just the mate. Okay,
oh, beautiful.
And then Craig Clooney, my bestie from school, one of those fine schoolboys, under 19, played Namibia under 21s in the army. Knees went, and it was club cricket for him from there on in. So I had to ask you, mate, who's your besties?
Well, I'm not even sure what to answer there because, I mean, for so long, rugby's kind of been work. So I've either been at games or covering games. I suppose the last time that I was watching games for fun, I would have to say probably my mate Marty from college. We got up to all sorts of stuff. And rugby was involved. So Marty, and then I suppose more recently, I'd have to say my daughter, sitting on the couch together, watching games, introducing her to the Springboks. When she was younger, Stephen Kicksoff was her favorite player. And now she's very much on the Sia Khaleesi, Cheslin Colby train. So, yeah, I mean, rugby really is central to your social environment on the weekend.
And I mean hammies. And I'm talking about the hamstrings, Hammies. You're there most times when you can make it. The kind of bond that there is. I know the Castilkis are flown afterwards. Some castle lights for some guys, mainly castles for the old guard. But it really, I think of castle, I think of the Springboks. Like I said, that jersey that I just kind of got back 25 years ago. And it's like when I look historically at who's been on that Boks jersey, it's like, how do you actually associate that brand alignment? It's very easy to associate this brand alignment. I love their campaign, how we were made. Tommy Lawrence, their top dog, he said, we are made differently. We are bloody made differently. I remember when we beat the All Blacks in 2009, 2 tests, one in Bloemfontein, one in Durban. Morné Steyn's 31 points in that 31-19 victory. And the losing team's coaches got to go into the winning team's coaches. And Richie McCaw in his book said he couldn't believe how quickly Graham Henry, Ted, and Wayne Smith bolted for the Boks change room because they wanted to see what defines this team.
Yeah.
And they said it's a nation. We don't play 15 players. We play a nation. And that's kind of where they started developing their own kind of haka, their own kind of identity, the singing of the national anthem, how important it was. And McCaw in his book said he felt the jersey was important enough. You don't need all those extras. But in South Africa, we are built differently, and it's a brand that's been with us forever.
True.
So I'm going to challenge everyone out there because they're going to be great prizes we're going to be giving away. We don't know what they are yet.
But they'll be great.
But they'll be in the post. Is on our comment section, you tell us, when you drink your castle, who you think of as your rugby bestie, your rivalry, and your best memory of the Boks. Okay? And you're going to go into a draw, and you are going to win stuff. Just know that. You're going to win stuff. You could even win some Boks by 10 T-shirts that are going to be out there because it's always Boks by 10, meaning, guys, if we don't know the story, we're always backing the Boks to win because that's how you supporters are. Doesn't matter what happened yesterday. You believe that will be Boks by 10. So wherever you are in the world, I know there's a lot of you overseas who get very nostalgic when you hear Zels' voice, when you hear mine, and when you know that we do sip on these castles. There's a lot of you out there. Tell us your favorite Boks memory. It's aligned with the brand. Who's your bestie when you think of rugby, your oldest memory? We'll do it on the SA Rugby Magazine Facebook page, on my X feed. Just let us know because it is Castle Lager Rugby Championship time. And this is your weekend special, man. Monday we'll be back. Tuesday we'll be back. Thursday we'll be back because this is going to be full on Keo and Zels rugby show. Lots on the Keo.co.za and obviously SA Rugby Magazine. And can you believe that the Boks a week ago were 4-1 favorites? So anyone who got in on that bet, well done. The All Blacks are favorites to win this thing because they're the All Blacks. And I think it's because they play us in Auckland and Wellington.
Yeah. And
no chance for the Pumas and no chance for the Wallabies.
None.
And rightly so, these bookies know what they're talking about. Back to back. Is it going to happen? Yes or no?
It's going to happen, mate. It's going to happen. The Boks are going to win the Rugby Championship. That's my gut feel. I'm not sure we're going to sweep New Zealand in New Zealand, but I expect us to get at least one win there. And I think the results in the other games will favour us. So I'm expecting the Boks to win again. Back to back to go with 2 World Cup titles.
It is Friday morning. I know you've been in traffic, but is that as enthusiastic as you can get?
Well, mate, it is. It is Friday morning. The sun is back in Cape Town for everybody who's not around here. So glorious times. But yeah, I've got the Springboks to win the Rugby Championship. I think we are perfectly positioned to do it because the Springboks have got depth like no other nation has got. We've got ferocious forwards like no other nation has got. And there are serious question marks around Australia. Argentina are not consistent. And for the All Blacks, the debate continues around who's going to play 10 and how are they going to play around that 10 and who's going to start in the tight 5 or behind a reasonable front row, but the locking situation there and the pieces that fit in behind that are tenuous at best.
How significant is winning a dead rubber against the British and Irish Lions side that to me was okay at best in a match that was also halted for a good 45 minutes because of a concussion, lightning, and whatever else you wanted to throw in it. And to listen to those Australian commentators, I love them. They're among my favorite ones. because they get to say mate with authority, not brew, China, cousin.
Yeah.
And enough of the matey, eh? China, enough of the mate,
The
China.
mateys had to stay.
Mate, China.
Mateys had to stay. It was very significant. I'll tell you why, because they are Australia. So it is very significant when you're at the bottom of the food chain and you're trying to climb up. Anything that floats is significant. And I think for the Wallabies, they should take a lot out of that series, because in terms of their recent results, that's pretty much as good as it gets for them. And there were signs of improvement. They are on the up, and it blew up their whole ghetto law system there, because for once and for all, even the old dogs upstairs with the grey hair could see, hang on a moment, these blokes that we let go play overseas and don't pick for the Wallabies are actually bloody good. So I think for Australia, it was quite a seminal moment in their sort of modern history, and I think they are going to improve, but doesn't change the fact that they're not there yet, and they're going to get pumped when they come to South Africa.
Yeah, they always get pumped with that. I think as they land at OR Tambo, they smell that Highveld air, and they think of our big five. Etzebeth, Peter Steff, Toy, Khaleesi, Colby, and name one of any other to throw in there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Ox and Chair for now.
That's a nice choice.
But yeah, the big five. That's actually, it's not my one. That's Rod McQueen used to say that to Harry Verleon.
Go away.
When he used to tell him that, look at your team, Harry, the Border Buffaloes, big, strong, and effing dumb. And then he said, we've got the big five, Eels, Horan, Litzel.
He wasn't wrong.
So I enjoyed the series. Not so much the first test. It was like a non-event. So if Australia was so underdone going into that series, Wallabies, the Lions have been on tour for best part of a month. And that first 30 minutes was a no-show. They got into it in that second test, kind of gave up a particularly good lead.
Yeah.
The controversy about the penalty that should have been wasn't. We say it was never a penalty. You then felt that the Lions would come out and really smash them, as did I, to make a point that we haven't won this series based on a penalty. And the converse was true. They were just doping the whole week.
Yeah.
They looked terrible in that third test.
No, they certainly weren't up for it in the third one, and I think that is a bit of human nature. I think the guys had celebrated that series victory, and I mean, to pick yourself up against a team that is fighting for their life is hard to do after you've won the series already. So there was definitely more in it for Australia, and they achieved what they wanted. The mission that they set out to achieve, mission accomplished. People are going to say now, if it wasn't for that one call, Australia could have won the series, regardless of the fact that the Lions were in total control for most of the series. People will look at that and say, well, Australia, you could make an argument that they should have won the series. So that's a great position for Australia to be.
Look, you've got to give it to Joe Smith, what he's done with the Australians. The mess that it was under Eddie.
Yeah.
The fact that he felt he had to change as radically as he did, the kind of style that they play. There was such a realist in Joe Smith when he came in and how he wanted to play and what he felt he needed to do. And the fact that he was going to stay on for the Rugby Championship to pass over the baton to Les Kiss, and they've worked closely together, building into this phase, largely backing those who play Super Rugby Pacific. But finally, like you said, the guitar law, and for those who don't know the guitar law, the X amount of tests that you had to play for the Wallabies, if you went overseas, then you're qualified to potentially be picked. Now, they were picking blokes who weren't particularly good, ahead of guys who were winning the Investec Champions Cup with Toulouse. That kind of thing. We're winning it with Will Skelton. What do you say? 39 tests out of a possible 135 or something.
Yeah.
Now everyone's like, whoa, look at the Wallabies with Will Skelton. Look at the Wallabies with this guy, with that guy. Well, for the Wallabies to be strong, it's exactly the same equation that we had. For us to be strong in South Africa, we had to make available to the national coach every South African qualified player, regardless of where they played. When we said, nope, we're only picking from our domestic game, we were 7th in the world. Wales was clapping us. Italy was beating us. We were getting done 57-0.
Correct.
57-15 in back-to-back tests by the All Blacks. Everyone forgets that now. And the Wallabies have gone the same route. So the potential for me there with the Wallabies, if they did pick their best players, they would be right back up there in the top 5 of world rugby, challenging for a top 3. And I don't believe there'll be this mass exodus overseas if you say we'll pick anyone who's offshore, because only the very best get picked.
But also, mates, what's wrong with that mass exodus? If 50 players leave Australia to go play in Europe and are exposed to the top level of rugby, and that opens up 50 gaps for the next generation of youngsters to come through. It's not like Super Rugby is shooting the lights out with some of the greatest rugby ever. Australia don't really feature in the Super Rugby playoffs. It was dominated by New Zealand again. So what's the difference? Double your playing pool if you can, because somewhere in there you're going to find some gems, and some of them will be guys that wouldn't have played if all of those main players had been stayed at home and played Super Rugby. It's a great opportunity.
Well, now for someone like Australia who needs their players, they need every guy who's good enough to be available for the Wallabies. They've kind of shot themselves in the foot for so long by, if you're overseas, you don't get picked. Now the talk of this Rebel League that they want to launch, 2026 September, they reckon they've signed 160 male players of the best in the world, 140 female players. The caveat is like, we've signed, everyone who we signed has played Test rugby in the last year. 4 believed to be Springboks out of what, 60?
Yeah.
So now you take that Australian player who goes to Toulouse, can't play for the Wallabies. You got the guy who's playing for the Force, who's on the fringes. He's played one test for the Wallabies. He gets offered big money to play in what is kind of like a live breakaway for rugby. He's not going to stick around and potentially play for the Wallabies and play for the Western Force. So they've got another problem coming there. So it has to be, and I've always said, Test rugby is about best plays best. So you can't say, but we have a best 15 playing overseas, but we won't pick them, but now you're playing the best of the Springboks. We went through that, and it was terrible. Oaks were burning that Bok jersey.
Spot on.
Not celebrating with it.
Spot on. Also, mate, it's hypocritical when you're picking players that weren't even born in your country, grew up in another country. You're making a provision to pick guys like that, but you won't pick countrymen because they're playing their club rugby somewhere else. That's madness.
I mean, it shows how far behind
Totally.
rugby union as a professional sport still is, and why this Rebel League has actually got legs. And all the talk is that the plane's going to take off.
Yeah.
The thing is, whether it stays in the air or not is another thing.
Yeah.
And I do see potential for this league in that September 2026, and let's just take the Boks setup. Rassie Erasmus has said, I'm going to pick the best players, even if they don't go to the 2027 World Cup in 2026, because that year may be a year too far for them. So you look at how many World Cup winners we've been talking about could just be at that cusp of not making the World Cup squad in 2027, but they would still be big names in a breakaway league.
Big time.
And then to boast, we've got 16 World Cup winners playing in this league, and X, Y, and Z. There is legs there, because it's coming at a very good time, just pre the World Cup, and post a cycle that could finish off a lot of players that still have potentially 2 good years left in club rugby. Why not go in there? And if this thing does take off, I would see that first year being a combination of a couple of big names that aren't quite there anymore to be in your starting 15, and some very good youngsters who are going to make some serious cash in the first years before they decide they want to come back and potentially play in the 2031 World Cup in the States.
Yeah.
I think World Rugby should be particularly worried about this breakaway league in how they're structuring it. And, everyone laughed at the IPL when it first started. Everyone laughed at T20 cricket. It was hit and giggle. Rugby has needed something, and you wrote the column. They've needed something to just shake those foundations a bit.
Big time.
Because it's still too old boys club.
Yep.
Globally.
Well, there's 2 things for a player, right? It's either money or prestige. So if something like a live rugby comes around that's going to pay you ridiculous amounts of money, that's going to be very hard to resist, unless the prestige of playing for your country makes you make that decision in favor of your country. And when you start bending the rules about playing for a country to allow people who are not even from the country to represent that nation, it detracts from that prestige. So for years, rugby has been eating or sawing through the branch that it's sitting on. And that's why we're in this position. It's ripe for the picking for a breakaway Rebel League.
And again, how would, if it's only going to be played in 2 blocks, are these guys then expelled from World Rugby? Are they still available to play in other test matches? Do national coaches make the call like, listen here, you don't play test rugby if you play there? Are we going to have a situation that they're the pariahs for 2 years, as the live golfers were, but now they're all joining together?
But that's a bluff that rugby will lose, because if you're getting paid 4 times the amount to play in a breakaway Rebel League, you're going to choose that every single time. And when those players are pulled out of the existing rugby structures and the product suffers because of it, they will eventually buckle. And they'll say, well, you're welcome to come back whenever you're available.
Yeah, completely. I mean, cricket did it during the Packer series in the 70s. It had to go that way. I mean, I go back to the Franz Steyn situation. 20 years old, a World Cup winner, just the hottest ticket in town. And when he left, I think he was offered 10 times what he was going to get in South Africa. And people were like, is that what he thinks of the jersey? How? Imagine if Brazil only picked local players in their, you had to play in Brazil to play for the Brazilian national soccer team. It's just, if you look at club and country in soccer, it's best place for club, and club who can pay the most, because the clubs pay your salary basically. So why would a player in South Africa turn down 3 or 4 times the amount of money playing pretty much in the same competition that he would be playing in? So I go and play for Toulouse and they pay me a whack, or no, stay at the Stormers or the Sharks for 25% of that, because you're now playing in South Africa, but I'm playing against Toulouse in the Investec Champions Cup quarterfinal. It's never made any sense.
It comes down to the economics. It's just about money. I think when you sort of pass a threshold in terms of what you're going to get paid, everybody obviously wants to stay at home, and where the salaries are pretty close, they choose to stay here and obviously be among their countrymen and their family. But I think as soon as you reach a certain point in terms of the pay scale, you're going to go.
No, and it's for me, it's come at the right time. It's going to be a great test of leadership within World Rugby.
Big time.
It's going to shift the balance of power towards players, and not in a chaotic way, not in a pariah way, because the world has advanced since the talk of the breakaways post the 1995 World Cup. The game has changed radically, and as you say, so have the economics. Like Cheslin Colby, we'd love to have him playing in South Africa.
Absolutely.
But I'd rather he's a contented man earning a lot of money in Japan and being available to the Springboks.
Totally.
And being significant in some of our greatest wins. So you look again at how Rassie, and once again, we have mocked Alistair Coetzee's tenure, but he wasn't allowed to pick foreign-based players. So we always have to kind of hold that in one hand.
Spot on.
And say, kudos to Rassie and Jacques when they came back. And they said, the only way we take in this job is if we can have access to every player who qualifies for South Africa, not meaning they're going to pick every player. And slowly they brought a few of those players back into South African fold. But by and large, it's a 50-50 split. 50 foreign-based players, South Africans, and 50 in our leagues. And we went from 7th in the world to back-to-back world champions, consistently number 1, Rugby Championship winners, British and Irish Lions series winners, 2-0 against Australia away, 2-0 against New Zealand at home, 1-1 against Ireland here, beaten France in the World Cup, beaten England home and away. There's kind of a formula there. Pick your best players and you win.
Spot on. No, 100%, mate. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Anybody can doubt the model, given South Africa's unprecedented success in the last 8 years, 7 years, is impossible. So that is the way to do it. Yeah, I mean, for Australia, I think that is their best chance of being able to be competitive at an international level, and ultimately the credibility of Australian rugby in Australia is going to be determined by whether they can beat the All Blacks primarily. And so their ability to compete in those games and contest those games and maybe have a shot at getting the Bledisloe Cup back will determine the value that Australian rugby has in the general public's eyes. It doesn't matter whether the Western Force comes second in Super Rugby. That means nothing over there, I don't think.
When you go again at how this Australian side did improve during the series, they had one warm-up game against Fiji and took 79 minutes to win it. When they look back, it's like, why didn't they play 2 or 3 games?
Totally. Man.
So everyone mocks the South African build-up. 2 against Italy and 1 against Georgia. Battle hardened. We're going to be battle hardened. Australia arrives here with a couple of players gone already from that series. Did they play their kind of final in that 3rd match at home at Sydney against the Lions, who had already won the series? And I've always said that the only thing that people don't learn from history is that they don't learn from history. And so I enjoy the gun-ho attitude of all the Wallabies. Jeremy Paul, I love the fact that he said, we're going to Johannesburg, we're going to shock them. That's the one that we're going to win.
Love it.
Because it would be history.
Yeah.
But they're not going to win because they've never won here in the professional era. And they've won 1 out of 11 at Ellis Park. That was 1963, and the game's changed a lot since then. I've seen some brilliant Wallabies teams come here to South Africa, world champion Wallaby teams, and lose to some pretty indifferent and struggling Springbok teams. And we spoke about how Eddie used to not let them sleep, come with the sunglasses, not go out of their hotel, take in the local cuisine, and it just made no difference.
Yeah.
Because as Castle do say in their campaign, we are made differently in South Africa. They brew differently. We're made differently. We don't lose at home to Australia and not at Ellis Park or Loftus.
No, truth. Truth. It's going to be great.
My truth or the truth?
The truth. You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Can't handle it, man. What Australia could handle, though, was an off-colour alliance team. And what impressed you about the Wallabies in that series? And what do you actually expect? And we're going to discuss this in greater detail once we see the match squads for next week. We know the influence that Joe Smith has had. But when you look at that Wallaby squad, are there any areas collectively, positionally, or individually where you want to say to your great following out there, be warned, be cautioned, there is a red flag?
No, I don't think there's too much trouble in that Wallaby squad for the Boks and the way that they play. I thought they did well to bounce back in the scrum. Taniela Tupa added an edge to that scrum for the Australia that was evident and significant. And I think Australia have always struggled at the set piece. So anytime that they can get parity or even a sniff at some sort of superiority, there is a massive boon for the way that they play. They are intelligent in the way that they play their rugby, at least on attack. You know, they've got some clever wrinkles, and you know, they've got backs that can cut you. So like a guy like Joe, if he finds his form in rugby, has got the skill set to hurt you. I'm not 100% sure that I'd play him in the midfield. I think his ability to go up and get the ball out of the air would make him a valuable asset in the back three. Tom Wright is an overachiever, and he backs himself regardless of the fact that he can't sing. He wants to be front and center of karaoke night every time. And I think that Australia needs more of that. There's a confidence about him that gets him the results he wants when he takes the ball to the line and counterattacks. And he's 100% and believes in what he's doing. So those are two valuable assets to their team. A guy like Max Jorgensen on the wing, I wasn't really convinced, but he does have some X factor. He has the ability to be in the right place at the right time and turn things around. So there's a guy to keep an eye out on. And then Nick White is an all-time favorite of mine. He's in the Jaden Hendrickson category for me. I love this guy. I think he's a fabulous asset at halfback. All 8 of the forwards on the field and the 7 on the bench are going to be itchy to get out there to take him down. So I think he adds value to their cause. They've got some overachieving forwards. You know, Nick Frost did well at lock. They've got some guys coming through there. And then Valentini and Skelton add a real edge to that team. So they don't have the whole thing, but they've got some nice little pieces. Fraser McWright, I'm very high on him. He didn't have a great end to the series, but he's a guy who adds real value and is a threat at the breakdown. So I think once they start putting the whole thing together, they'll have something. At the moment, it's a bit splintered.
Well, they have looked at the Boks 3 tests that we played, regardless of that Rassie has mixed and matched 10 changes in each one of those 3 tests, and then from that first 54-7 win against the Barbarians, which was a non-international in Cape Town. The one area that came out the whole time was that we were vulnerable at the breakdown. But again, we didn't play the same loose trio. We didn't play the same pack, and even the same backs consecutively. But the team you'll put out there are so familiar with each other based on a 6 to 8 year history. Is that an area that they will think they could have an edge with us, especially in the way we want to play or the way we evolve in our game?
Yeah, I think that is a good opportunity for them. It depends on their personnel in the back three, but the wide breakdown is somewhere where if you're playing against South Africa, you would have watched some recent games and thought, hey, we've got a chance, we've got a sniff there. But South Africa's time in the saddle is going to increase as we go further into the season, and the attacking breakdown will get more and more secure as we go, I think. And the Boks are now a couple of seasons into the Tony Brown system. So I expect that was just probably a lot of ring rust that just had to get blown out. I'm sure the Boks are going to be pretty secure there going forward.
And can it be that just one result can evoke such confidence in the likes of Jeremy Paul, Justin Harrison, Morgan Turanui to say, we can do this thing in Johannesburg. We can actually beat the Springboks. I mean, 2 years ago, Eddie brought a team here to Loftus. Rassie sent 12 players, 12 of his best, who started against the All Blacks a week later, and we put 45 points past them. And Manie Lebok had an incredibly good game. And we played expansive footy, rugby. I'm just trying to bring in the Australian.
Oh, I love it, mate.
Listen here, bro. Had enough of you, okay? We made differently, okay? We just are, okay?
Mate, you would know better than anybody how difficult it is for a team to dig itself out of a hole when the whole media is against them. Once that narrative shifts and the general public is convinced that you're just useless, it's very difficult to bounce out of that. And I think guys like Morgan Turinu and the rest of the pundits, the talking heads in Australia, understand that well, as some of them are former players. And so for them, it's about being positive and seeing the best possible outcome in the situation. And so Japan beat the Boks at a World Cup. I mean, it's not impossible that Australia can win a test. It's just highly unlikely. And so I think for them to drive the slender chance of success and to hype it up and ramp it up and just try and get some sort of a fire going there in the forest is probably the best chance they have at survival. And Australia needs to take momentum anywhere they can get it, off the field and on the field. And so that victory against the British and Irish Lions is that momentum.
Look, they do come here with the opportunity to make history and not just be another statistic in their history. They have a 21% win record against the Springboks in South Africa. And you can take that down to about 5% when you go slightly to altitude. They've drawn one, I think 1-1 in Bloemfontein, okay? That 21% is the worst record that any test nation touring South Africa that's played more than 20 tests historically has. It's also their worst winning result in any country they've toured in their history.
Insane.
And since 1996, it hasn't gone well for them up north. They've taken some big ones. The closest they came to a victory, and I was with the Springboks at the time, with their communications team, 2002, we hadn't won a game in the Rugby Championship. We'd been competitive at the Gabba, 38-27. Maurice Joubert, one of the sensational tries. I think the vet Barry ended up with George Smith's dreadlock. That was our biggest victory of the day.
Oh,
and what's his name? Ben Tune took a big hit. Gave Corne Cricker a big hit over there. The Brisbane Courier Mail, I can hit Cricker, said Ben Tune. Corne got him back in Johannesburg. He can hit him as well. It was 1-1. It was a draw. But we started that game with the most bizarre circumstances. Rudolf Stroide called us into his room on the Saturday morning. Tim Lane, the 1991 Wallabies assistant coach, World Cup winning assistant coach, was our backs coach. Kevin Stevenson was there. Woody Smith was the doctor. And he called us in, and Rudolf was lying in the bed, and he said, we got the problem. And Andre Pretorius, our fly-off, had torn his knee ligaments. But little did we know he had torn them playing golf, I think, on the Thursday in Durban, okay? And had not shared it with us till the captain's run where he was struggling. And he couldn't play. And
what kind of golf was that, mate?
I don't know, mate, because he's a bloody good golfer. And Rudolf said, we got to call in Louis Kuhn. And Tim Lane says, he's not even in the squad. We got to play Brent Russell. He's in the squad. And Rudolf said, but he can't kick. And Tim Lane's, well, we got to score tries, don't we? And went backwards and forwards, and eventually Tim said, look, I'm the backs coach here. I make the call on this. Brent Russell plays. So he goes to Brent and he says, listen here, mate, you're starting at 10. Pretorius has done his knees. And Brent, he says, just think of it like you're a boy from here. Any game you played at Ellis Park before. Just think of it like that. Brent Russell says, I've never been to Ellis Park. Okay? Let alone played on it, he's never been there. So that evening, that Friday evening, whatever, we were having a drink in the bar, and Bernard Frief on his way. Lovely, like one of the most underrated players. Top man. For those who don't know, he grew up tough, and he played golf, and he was left-handed. But there was no left-handed club, so he taught himself to play golf right-handed. He was a scratch golfer within 2 years.
Great tennis player too.
Yeah, he could play, okay, from DF Milan in Bellville, Northern Suburbs. Any oak from the north, from the north, in Cape Town. The Boody Curtin, when you go through there, same passport.
Yeah.
But he could play, and he joked, and so Tim Lane said to him, yeah, you better win the game for us tomorrow. He said, yeah, but it won't be with a kick. And he joked, and off he went. And we were 26-9 up in that game, and smashing them. And Joe van Niekerk had an outstanding start, scored one of the great tries, and slowly and they were a bloody good Wallaby side. They were the current world champions. Slowly they started coming back. The Gregans, the Larkhams, the Finnegans, the Chris Lathams, the Matt Burks, and so
Jeremy Pauls.
Jeremy Paul. So that's why he believes.
There we go.
That's why he believes.
There we go.
And at 78th minute, and they score 31-26. And I'm like, oh my goodness. More history for this squad. And they missed the conversion. That gives us hope. 79th minute, kickoff. Skinstad miraculously gets his finger to the ball, taps it back. We get the ball, go on the attack. Skinstad manages to get in a legalized ankle tap on their defenders. We keep possession somehow. Bola Conradi does a wonderful delayed pass. On the right angle comes Werner Krief crashing through, and he scores 31-all. We go ballistic in the coach's box. I think Rudolph nearly had a heart attack there. We know we can't lose this game, but we don't have a kicker. Okay. Everyone turns around to walk back to the halfway line. Werner Krief has scored the try. He's standing there with the ball in his hand. It's like, where's everyone? Okay. And it's got to be him. In today's time, he would have been timed out by these walk back from the try line to putting it down. And he put it down and he nailed it. And we won 33-31. And that was the closest they came. But what a game. But at the cocktail match afterwards, Paddy O'Brien was a referee. He joked. He went up to Paddy O'Brien and he said, that last conversion, mate, he said, don't you think you should have timed him out? Taken too long. And Paddy O'Brien, one of the great characters of referees, he said to him, mate, my balls are big, but not that big. Not in Ellis Park and not in South Africa. So again, what I say to you, what I love about the talk coming out of Australia is it's added some juice and some spice to next week.
Yeah.
Where we always get that with the All Blacks because of the reverence we have towards the All Blacks. And maybe this will fire up our boys a bit. But also put into context the British and Irish Lions, who go everywhere with this hoo-ha. But they have won very little historically. The 71 Lions in New Zealand, a magnificent generation. 74 in South Africa.
Mate, no Lions team ever going forward is going to match, for me, what those guys did who used to go to the venue or the country they were playing in by ship. Okay, nothing that you do. You jet in and you got your misuse and your physics. I don't care if you win every game.
Those guys you talk about those tours, they played 26, 29 games.
There we go.
And I looked at some of those results and speaking to, I remember speaking to Dobbo's late father, Paul Dobson, the historian. And I'd see some weird results there. And I'd say, why did they struggle there? And he said, well, they got to South Africa. They were in Cape Town. They played against Western Province cities, Western Province universities. Then we sent them to Springs by train. Then they come back down to the old Port Elizabeth. Then we send them to the old Salisbury by train. By the time they get back, those guys have
gone around the world.
They've clocked some serious rail time, okay, and spent some serious time in towns. So I think they used to leave, the touring teams used to leave a next generation of kind of like all black lion Bok, you know. So you just can't compare those. Like we talk about the 37 Boks. One defeat, I think, in 28. Beat New Zealand 2-1, came from 1-0 down. Last time we won at Eden Park. Beat Australia on the way. They waited for 6.5 months.
No, mate. That's different gravy.
And there, it wasn't like you just playing the test matches. You play nearly every match.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but I'm looking forward to it. A Wallaby test against the Springboks based on the fact that they do come here, having won a test, having improved against the British and Irish Lions. And they come here with some good players, with a very good coach.
Yep.
And with confidence, because ordinarily you think Australia and South Africa, we're going to win. It's a bit like we used to think, Boks go to New Zealand, we've always got a fighting chance. I just don't think they'll win in Australia. Because mentally we just weren't that switched on. I would ask all the captains, John Smith, like his predecessors, why don't you guys just do it for Australia?
And I've told you, you can't get chicken wings there, mate. It's impossible to take it seriously on tour if you can't get chicken wings.
And even in my time when I was with the squad, there was a different mentality and attitude when they played England or the All Blacks. And it's like it's like if they lost to Australia, they didn't take it personally. If they lost the other two, they did. But hopefully this team takes any defeat personally.
Yeah.
Okay. So we will be doing a lekker build-up, telling everyone how we made, what we made of, because ons is anders in Suid-Afrika. En hulle weet nie wat ons weet nie. And I know this isn't rugby, but Driekus is going to do his thing. Next week, we'll also chat about that. He's back in the cage. But before we get to Driekus, a very important competition that's been played. It's how much can you give Zels and myself for our charity? No, it's not that. It's the Carling Curry Cup. We've enjoyed it. Hey, 2 rounds going into the third. Everything you said it is. See the competition for what it is. And if you want to remind those who didn't tune in last week, it's not the Curry Cup of old, because there are other competitions, but it's a great competition.
No, it's a great competition. I think the stars of tomorrow are going to be in action. Guys that you're maybe not very familiar with are going to be playing in week in and week out for the domestic title. And for them, it's the biggest games of their lives. And you get basically a prequel to what you're going to see in the URC in a couple of seasons. So you'll be able to spot some stars there. And by the time they make it big and some of them go on to be Springboks, you'll have seen sort of the genesis of it. It's the next step from schoolboy rugby. You can see the different strategies for the different teams. The Bulls are very much loaded their side with some campaigned veterans. For the other sides, you know, it's they're using it as a development competition to bring through some young stars. So, but there is always a nice mix of sort of grizzled veterans and then like guys cutting their teeth. It's a very interesting competition from that perspective. And I think as it goes on and teams start to find their groove, it's going to become a lot more competitive. Obviously, for the likes of Griquas and the Pumas, this is their bread and butter. This is them at work. And they've put some good performances together. The opener between those two teams was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Some great rugby on display. And then you can't but love what's happening in Boerland and their revival there. And you can't but cheer for France Stain and what they're trying to achieve in the Free State with the Cheetahs. So if you've got any sort of backstory with South African rugby and you've been keeping your eye on what's happening domestically and you understand the context of it, it's a great competition.
Yeah, and you can follow it on SA Rugby Magazine. They're always first with the news, first with the results. A big plug out to you guys and a shout out, whatever. You'll be covering the SA under-18s as well. They've been hosted in the northern suburbs. If you don't have a passport through the Boerewors curtain, groet met die hand. Groet met die hand, dat is ons is hier. On Flip, hy gaan nie daar wees nie. Hy is Weskus se wêreld toe. Okay. And Marcus Miller leads the SA under-18s. Again, to him, huge disappointment. He was outstanding in the derby. 23 points out of 33. They were 33-21 up with 5-6 minutes to play. Paul Boys High, fantastic recovery, 35-33, incredible game played in front of 25,000 people in Paul. For me, it is the biggest schoolboy derby in the world. But to the Kez and Jeppy boys who played out for the 100th time, a big congrats to the lads who played and to all the old boys from both sides, because I'm going to be in Joburg next week and I may have to bump into a few Kezoks. So I said I would mention them.
Be friendly.
Yeah, and I won't mention an earlier score, but what I will say is they did recover well in their domestic league.
Indeed.
And I won't call it second tier either. I would just say in their domestic
Gracious.
league. But it's been fun chatting as always, Zels, on a Friday. We haven't done a Friday weekend special.
We like the Boks. We are breaking new ground.
Exactly. But it is a special day. A man that I'll never forget, and South Africa will never forget. Chester Williams would have been 55 today. As I always say, I had the privilege of writing his biography. It's the first one I did of the 8 books that I did like between 12 and 3 in the morning. But just a wonderful human being. And so a toast to him. If you've got a castle in your hand, take it out. Toast Chester Williams. Some wonderful memories of him playing at Ellis Park, playing against every country and scoring some fabulous tries. And, you know, privileged to have been there as well when he did play his last game against the Barbarians. I scored 2 tries when we beat them 41-31, that incredible game. 5 tries apiece. Brian van Straten kicked that penalty. That was his last game in the Springbok jersey.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to him, to Maria and to the kids, he's never forgotten. Certainly not in our world, not in our household. And he needs to be honoured at every turn for what he did for South African rugby. So shout out to Chester, and then also to our woman. And people ask, why do we also do the show on a Friday? You know what? All my family lives in New Zealand. My mom was a Kiwi. I love the All Blacks. I love the Boks a bit more. I mean, I get tired of saying to them, another South African team's beaten you. So we did it in the 7s. We did it in the World Cup. We did it on the 20s. It's a good thing the under-18s aren't here this weekend. And then they sent their Black Ferns here. A Black Ferns 15.
They got watered, mate.
Athlone Stadium. What a comeback. Swaysterbrain's team. Our women Boks. They have improved immeasurably. I know how much you enjoy the women's game. I know you do.
I do enjoy
You
the
watch it on the side. They've really improved their rugger. I think 7 or 8 tries against Black Ferns 15. And while that wasn't the World Cup squad of New Zealand, they've got a proper Super Rugby competition going and have for a while.
Good.
It was a bloody good win. To me, one of the best wins I've seen from the women. And they'll be going to the World Cup 22nd of August till 25th of September.
Yeah.
And they're going for a quarterfinal place, which will be their highest ranking. We've got to get behind them. We'll be chatting a bit about them, bringing some of their stars to the fore. But geez, to everyone in New Zealand, to my butt, sorry, man. Another green and gold winner. We even playing white jersey, we still beat you. And you know why we beat you? And I'm going to leave you with this. Because we did ask Bucky's Buerta, the iconic enforcer. We asked him, why are the Boks so good and so dominant?
The two most important things in rugby is the two P's: pressure and support.